Illegal alien surge at the southern border is many things, and it certainly is a crisis, a health hazard, a threat to our national security. But is it racist? Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who I assure you is of no relation to me, she thinks so. And she thinks even calling it a surge, listen.
Well, we're talking about it. They just don't like how we're talking about it because it's not a border crisis. It's an imperialism crisis. It's a climate crisis. It's a trade crisis. This is not a surge. These are children, and they are not insurgents, and we are not being invaded, which, by the way, is a white supremacist idea, philosophy.
Joining us to discuss is Democratic strategist Kelly Hyman and former Republican congressman from Louisiana and former assistant to President Trump, John Fleming. Welcome to both of you. Kelly, I'd like to begin with you and ask you this. Look, I am Hispanic. I'm the son of an immigrant. I don't think there's anything racist about America controlling its borders. Your response?
We are a country built on immigrants, which makes our country wonderful and great, but we have our right to protect our border as well. And so I think that's important. In regards to the children, this is much more a humanitarian issue, and I would welcome the idea, Republican or Democrat, to come together and do something so that we can make sure that people are safe and we are safe, and that's moving forward to work together.
Okay. So Kelly, just to be clear then, is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, is she wrong to inject race into this discussion?
Well, that's, you'd have to ask her on that. I can't speak for her.
No, I'm asking you if she's wrong. I don't want to ask her if she's wrong. Is she wrong, AOC?
Look, there are different ways to say this, and I think her point was that the fact that these are children coming across, and so that's much more of the issue. I mean, these children, are we going to turn them away at the border and have them be, put forth with prostitutions or human trafficking? So that's why I say it's a humanitarian issue that I think is really important.
Kelly, I just want to politely ask you one more time. Is AOC wrong to inject race into this? Yes or no?
That's her decision. So, ultimately, I would say no.
Okay.
All right. Well, John, I would say then, based on what AOC is doing, it kind of looks like to me that she's trying to deflect from the actual issues that Kelly was just bringing up. They're very real issues, and instead she's falling back on, racism and word choice when there is a legitimate issue going on at the border that is a crisis and it is a surge, and we have to figure out what to do about it instead of worrying about the wording and placing blame on the previous administration, which is what the Biden administration seems to be doing.
Precisely correct. The radical left Democrat Party today knows they can't win on ideas, they can't win on facts, they can't win in debates. So what do? They just simply say, it's racist, it's white supremacy. It's become a chestnut now. They're making it a meaningless term because they apply it to anything that they disagree with. And I agree with your other representative today that it is a humanitarian disaster, but it's caused by President Biden. Things were under the best control in probably 20 or 30 years, 3 decades. And then President Biden threw up the green flag and said, come to our border. And now we have a humanitarian disaster.
John, I want to ask you, it certainly is a humanitarian disaster, but it's also an economic failure in that this country is still struggling to get back to the heights that we enjoyed before the CCP virus crashed the global economy. There are still 10 million fewer Americans working today than there were just over a year ago. This seems to me to be the worst time of all to be importing a lot of low-wage, generally low-skilled labor into the United States. Your thoughts, John?
I completely agree with that. It's already straining a very difficult economy that we have today, which we've been spending trillions of dollars to revive. But also as a physician, I can tell you that this is also a public health disaster. They say that 10% of these incoming illegal immigrants are positive for COVID. They're bringing it across. We don't know what mutant strains that they may be bringing. And here they're getting schooling in person, whereas American citizens still sit at home getting it virtually.
Right. Kelly Hyman and John Fleming, thank you both so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
Thanks, Kelly.
You bet. So we're waiting.